Your body moves in 3 dimensions, but you are training and stretching in one. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use 3D stretching to improve your mobility, flexibility, and your strength. As someone who was about as flexible as a block of concrete, and before what I know now, it took me a lot of work to get to the point where I could touch my toes. It didn't really seem to make much of a difference, I guess, how I was pulling up in my sport and the range of motion I had access to, particularly in things like jiu-jitsu and some of the other sports that I was doing at the time. And that's because I was training in one line, in one plane of motion. So we take something simple like a leaning forward hamstring stretch. We can see this is in one line. If we can understand a little bit about the anatomy of the muscles and what we're actually trying to train, we can get a lot more out of it. And in my anatomy courses, I do take a deep dive into this. But for a hamstring stretch, all we really need to understand is that some movements of our pelvis can change where that load is going to go. So for example, if I come forward and try this with me, if I come forward, bend my knee, and I start to lift my chest and stick my butt out, I'm going to start to feel a stretch up here. I'm going to start to even load the hamstring tendon. So we can really dictate where we want force to go in a stretch. And bonus, if we actually push the heel down here, we're going to start to feel load into the muscle and into the tendon. And if we push hard enough and add enough load, as far as the muscle goes, this is a 1 rep max. So we're really going to get stronger through this plane of motion as well. So that's our, I guess, we would call our sagittal plane. This is our straight line stretch. If we now want to add some of these other 3 dimensions in, coming into this position here, I've got my right leg forward. If I reach my left hand forward and I turn my foot in, so I'm getting my big toe towards the ground, I'm going to start to feel the load come up this side here. If I push the heel down, I'm going to start to apply some force into this muscle and hopefully load the tendon as well. In the same position, if I'm going to shoot the foot towards you here, so now I'm in this perpendicular position, and I start to lean to the side, I'm going to start to feel this more on the inside. Knowing that the hamstrings aren't just one muscle, but it's also applying load in 3 dimensions to all of these muscles. So what we would do in the Stretch Yourself Strong system, this would be a phase 1 strategy, we'd come into our positions, 3 planes of motion, and apply some force isometrically by pushing the foot down, generally 3 reps of 10 seconds, and adding some strength and some load to that muscle. So for the hamstring there, we've applied each of those 3 dimensions separately, but we can combine them as well. So if we look at something like a hip flexor stretch, if I come into this lunge position, what I'm going to do to get this straight line loading is I'm going to tuck my pelvis under. So as I said, having a bit of an understanding of anatomy and knowing how we can manipulate our pelvis can be really useful in understanding how to apply these forces. So what's important in a hip flexor stretch is this posterior tilt, this tilting under of the pelvis. If we want to get both the pelvis end and the knee end, knowing that some of these muscles cross both joints, we would straighten the knee as well. And if you do that with that hip tuck, you're going to feel a very strong stretch here. We could also combine this with a shift of the pelvis to the same direction. So I'm stretching my left hip here, I'm going to shift my pelvis over, and you should notice a bit more force with that there. If you have trouble shifting the pelvis, lifting the arm over your head can help understanding where that force should go. So tucked under, shifted across, and now I'm actually going to twist my torso to the right. And what we should feel is this winding up and this loading, getting stronger and stronger in the muscle here. Tuck under, across, twist, and then we could even think about dragging our toe forward along the ground, and then we get to add the isometric. If that's too difficult, we could do it on the knees. Same thing, tuck under, hip across, turn and push the back foot as hard as you can into the ground as you pull the knee forward. 3 lots of 10 seconds for the isometric loads, and we're going to start to add strength and range of motion in all 3 dimensions. I'm certain if you tried that with me, you will feel the difference between that straight line loading and these 3D stretching techniques. It's the first step in making sure our mobility and flexibility gains are transferable. We want to make sure our training makes a difference to our sport, our movement and other things. Otherwise, you're just getting good at exercise, and that might be great for Instagram, but not so good for actually doing stuff. So if you want to know a little bit more about the Stretch Yourself Strong system, grab the book. You can get it in the link. It's on Amazon. Join our programs, comment below. like, subscribe, all the things. I think that's it. I'll see you in the next one.